Okay, so let's dive into the origin story of, well, pretty much everything around us. Seriously, from the phone in your hand to the city you live in, the whole blueprint was basically drawn up during the Industrial Revolution. So you have to wonder, right? How did we get here? How did we go from a world that was almost entirely about farming and making things by hand to the world we know today, one that's dominated by factories and machines and these huge cities? Well, the answer is this incredible and honestly often brutal period of transformation. It's easy to just think of it as a bunch of new inventions, but it was so much more than that. It was like a complete rewiring of society itself. Everything from how we work to where we live, even the economic systems that run our lives, it all got turned on its head. This was the moment the modern world was really forged. And our story kicks off in a pretty specific time and place. Great Britain, right around the mid-18th century. It was this perfect storm of things, really. They had tons of coal, access to colonial resources, and a government that was ready for it. What happened on this one little island ended up starting a chain reaction that completely reshaped the entire globe. Now, you can basically break the revolution down into two main phases. This first wave, this was an absolute explosion of ingenuity, and it was all built on just a few core ingredients. What's so wild is how these ingredients just worked together perfectly. You had coal providing this insane amount of energy. You had iron, which was this super strong, durable material to build all the new machines and buildings. Textiles, that became the big test case for mechanizing a whole industry. And then, the thing that tied it all together, the real game changer, steam power. Inventions like the spinning jenny, it let one worker do the job of dozens, completely changing how clothes were made. And switching to coke for smelting made iron way cheaper and stronger. But the real hero of this whole era? That was James Watt's steam engine. It was this powerful, portable engine that you could put anywhere, a factory, a mine, or, as we'll see, on wheels and on the water. But here's the thing. The revolution didn't just stop. It evolved. What started with steam and iron in Britain morphed into something way bigger, way more powerful. The age of electricity, oil, and steel was just around the corner, and this time, it was going global. And that evolution led us straight into the second industrial revolution, which people often call the technological revolution. And if the first wave lit the fuse, this second wave was the full-on explosion. It was faster, bigger, and had an even deeper impact on the world. The jump in technology here is just staggering to think about. The Bessemer process gave us cheap, high-quality steel, and suddenly things like skyscrapers and massive bridges were actually possible. Electricity started replacing steam, giving us a cleaner, way more versatile source of power. And, of course, the internal combustion engine? Well, that set the stage for the age of the car. This new tech didn't just change how we made stuff, it completely changed how we thought about time and distance. Steam trains and steamboats made travel and trade faster than anyone could have ever dreamed. But the electric telegraph, that was something else entirely. For the first time ever, a message could travel across a continent or an ocean almost instantly. The planet had, for all intents and purposes, shrunk. Humanity was now operating on a truly global, synchronized clock. This progress was absolutely incredible. There's no denying it. But it's only half the story. This new world was built on the backs of millions and millions of ordinary people. And for a lot of them, the price of that progress was just unbelievably high. As these factories got bigger and bigger, they needed a ton of workers. And this sparked one of the greatest migrations in human history. Not across borders necessarily, but from the fields and small villages of the countryside into the loud, chaotic, and fast-growing industrial cities. This chart really shows you that shift in a stunning way. Just look at the bars. Before 1800, the city population is just a tiny sliver. But by 1900, it's totally flipped. In about a century, societies that have been mostly rural for thousands of years became mostly urban. This wasn't just an industrial revolution, it was a social one, through and through. And life inside these new factories, it was brutal. We are talking about 12 to 16-hour workdays, from sunup to sundown. The pay was so low that entire families, including little kids, had to work just to get by. And the conditions were so dangerous. Machines with no safety features, terrible air quality, and the constant risk of getting hurt or killed with absolutely no safety net. This was the tough reality for this new working class. But conditions like that couldn't last forever. Faced with all this, workers started to realize that the only power they had was in their numbers. So they began to organize, they began to fight back, and they started to demand a better life. And this led directly to the rise of labor unions. The idea at its core was simple, but so powerful. Instead of one person going to the boss to ask for a raise or safer equipment and probably getting fired, the entire workforce would demand it together. It's called collective bargaining. This was a direct answer to the power of the factory owners, and it set the stage for a century of conflict over workers' rights. So, why does any of this matter to us right now? Well, because we are living in the world that the Industrial Revolution built. Every part of it, its triumphs and its failures, that's our inheritance. And that leaves us with this kind of dual legacy, right? On one hand, we have mass production, unbelievable technology, a globally connected world. But on the other hand, we have the deep social inequalities, the labor struggles, and the huge environmental challenges that were all born in this exact era. Yeah, and that environmental price tag has been really, really steep. The revolution's incredible thirst for energy was quenched by burning just massive amounts of coal, and that kicked off our global addiction to fossil fuels. The smoke-filled skies over cities like London and Manchester, that was the very beginning of the large-scale industrial pollution that we are still fighting today. So when you look back, the story of the Industrial Revolution is a story of incredible human creativity, but also the huge consequences that come with it. It taught us how to build a new world at a speed and scale nobody had ever imagined. And that leaves us with a pretty big question. Now that we know what we know about both the amazing progress and the serious peril, what are we going to choose to build next?